getting something. I knew it.
Definitely
Oh, we're live now. We're live. We're
Okay.
live.
Hello. Hello. We're just going to do live on TikTok here because we can. What the heck? TikTok wants to use Facebook to sign in. No. Well, maybe one of you could talk for a second.
Hello.
All right.
I'm going to talk for a second.
Okay. There we are. Okay. All right. Hello, TikTok. Hello, everybody. We are live streaming. I'm going to bitch and moan and grouse today. That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about people who are in the wrong jobs somehow but before we get to that, on hit pause on that. Before we get to that, we're going to talk about Mark Zuckerberg. Let me bring up Rory Penland and the great Renee if she wants.
Yes.
So you had asked me a minute ago, Rory, you said, well, you've interviewed Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes.
And I said, yeah, back in like 2008 when he came up with this idea for Facebook. And we were all still on MySpace. Remember that? Talk about a shitty looking website. Clunky, whatever it was. But that's what we all knew.
We shall not say its name.
Yes. And Friendster and Orgasmatron and whatever these.
High five.
You've opened the Horcrux. It will come back.
So that was kind of it. So here's this guy with Facebook, and he's out doing a public circuit because he's trying to sell it. He wants people to get on it. So he's coming on radio shows that are, big in major markets so he can get people just to go check it out, knowing that once you check it out, you're going to probably build an account because it's free. Why not? And it looked better than MySpace. So I said, well, what's the difference between this and MySpace? He said, well, one, it looks way better. We're using algorithms and all that. Nobody had ever heard what an algorithm was. So, I mean, you're using algorithms. Wow. Count me in. Let me start an account. Let me have 2 accounts.
Oh, boy, you know what they are now.
Yeah, this is amazing. And I said, still, what's the point? He said, well, do you remember AOL? And I think most of us remember AOL. AOL was the internet. The internet. If you didn't have AOL, you didn't have the internet. And if you left AOL, what did you get? A black screen with a C prompt. Remember that?
Yeah.
People didn't have websites yet. There was nothing out there. Al Gore had not finished his superhighway. Al Gore.
He had not taken it out of the lockbox.
Hand building the internet for you and me, you see. Al Gore. So there was really nothing outside of AOL, and AOL was way ahead of its time. So this is in the 1990s. Remember that you could buy flowers on it. They had chat rooms, naughty
eBay
chat rooms too, naughty.
eBay.
You could buy and sell things. You could do this. You could do that. It had all this kind of cool stuff going on. And he said, that's what we're doing with Facebook. He said, we're going to build a world that you never have to leave. I'm like, I never have to leave it. What if I want to leave it? You won't want to leave it. Why won't I want to leave it? Because you'll have friends. I said, I already have friends. No, you don't. I said, oh, yes, I do.
Like these friends.
He said, have you ever had, can you say that you have like 5,000 friends? I'm like, no. And how many lunches would I have to have with 5,000? Seriously. He's like, no, that's not the point. I'm saying, God damn it, what's the point? Try talking to Zuckerberg. He's like on the spectrum way out there, which does not make him a genius, by the way. It just means he's
way out there.
He's way out there and a grifter and a great one. And he said, no, the point is most people have problems. Swipe across your forehead, the hair. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's summer here already, it seems. Here we go, Rory. We're both in Florida. Florida. So, where was I?
You were talking about Zuckerberg.
Ah, yes, I was. So he said,
Great grifter.
Most people don't have friends. They might have one if they're lucky, maybe two, but they just don't have friends. And they can't make friends because you know how hard it is to make friends. And I said, no, I actually don't know. What do you mean? Because he doesn't have friends. Remember, everybody at school, after he them with Facebook, he definitely had 0 friends. So he said, well, most people don't have friends. I'm like, okay. He said, so now they can have not 1, not 5, but 70, 80, 90, 1,000, 5,000 friends. I said, but those aren't friends. Those are like digital acquaintances or DAs. They're like not real. It's like porn. It's just not real. He said, oh, they're very real. They'll talk to each, and he was right. People now think that their friends on Facebook are actually like buddies, like real people, because they'll talk to each other and swap recipes and pubic hair pictures and gossip and
Pubic hair pictures.
You never lived in LA, did you?
That's a thing.
When you go to LA, just bring up people in LA on Facebook. Just bring it up. People in LA on Facebook. Every one of them is shirtless or bottomless. It is.
We'll do lunch, babe. I'll show you my pube region, babe.
Yes. You'd swear you were on like a bad dating app, and it's Facebook. And it's like, nice abs. That's a great 12-pack you've got there. It's Facebook. Now here, wherever here is,
Nice
anybody
views.
watching, you wouldn't do that. But in LA, nobody has any sense of propriety. There's no breeding. There's no pedigree. Nobody went to college. Nobody knows anything. Nobody cares. And it's all transactional. You know, to get a part in a movie, you do literally have to fillet someone. You might enjoy it. You might not enjoy it. It doesn't matter. Harvey Weinstein. Now there's a hot guy. Renee, let's bring Renee in. Harvey Weinstein.
He's absolutely, he screams mushroom penis. And that is what every lucky lady is looking for.
That's right.
A mushroom penis.
Gargantuan toadstool.
And remember that Weinstein is the one with one ball, right? I think he's the one ball. Yeah.
He's monotesticular.
Right, exactly. So you have to, so when you're sleeping with Harvey Weinstein, like we don't know if J-Law did or not, but we think she did. We're pretty sure she did. We're not sure she did, but we think she might have.
So would you palpate his scrotum? Because if he's got one ball, does it move from one side of the scrotum to the other? Would you palpate the scrotum and find it's like deflated?
You can juggle it in one hand.
Let me tell you this: to
like
end the genocide. To end genocide, I might do that. But short of ending genocide, no.
But what if it gave him pleasure?
Sure, I'll do that.
Like he said,
just go down, baby.
It gives me pleasure for you to like pull on my scrotum, pull on it, and then flick my ball. Flick.
No. No, I can't. No.
Rory is reacting because he's imagining how that actually would feel.
This is like the kids on the bus. Yeah, you flick their ear.
Yeah.
Testicle?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You don't have any of those, Renee, but having a sister, I can tell you, if I like went pow on one of her breasts, she would just bend over in agony. It's kind of the same. It's different. It's actually more sensitive, maybe.
Really?
It's hard to even explain. It's the most sensitive part on your body. And
the scrotum is a very sensitive organ.
I mean, if you just look at them, it could hurt. You could hurt them. Yeah.
How do you sit on them all day? How do you ride horses and bikes and stuff? I don't get it.
This is a good question from a girl.
I've never understood
What do you do with them?
How do you go on a bike? How do you sit on a desk?
Okay. Now, we have all, when we learned how to ride bikes, we all, on a boy's bike, you have the bar across the top. Girl's bike, you have a V-shaped cut. On a boy's bike, when we all learned how to ride bikes, we all gelded ourselves. We all went forward and fell on the bar once or twice, learned our lesson. Never, ever, ever, ever to do that again.
My kidneys.
Let me read this. Oh my goodness, what kind of conversation did I come across? I heard about balls, LOL. Thank you, Julie.
We're talking about balls.
Because now here's the thing. Here's the thing. I think that the reason why you guys can ride vehicles and horses and sit is because it's in the front of you guys. But see, we have it like right in the middle,
Well, the
right?
balls
Isn't
are,
it?
my balls are not in the front.
Well, then how are you sitting right now? I'm
I mean,
confused.
imagine if they were in the front,
What are they doing? How are you not in excruciating agony right now?
because my
This,
legs are spread about this far and they go in between.
we
They
need a
just hang
diagram.
down. They hang
Okay.
down. Now, here's the
She's
deal.
right. They kind of move out to the front.
Yeah, they
See,
move
they're
out.
in the front.
Well,
I had
so
a
you're-
feeling.
So
If you
well,
sit,
between your ash and your scrotum.
okay,
have
you
your-
guys. So the only one we know of who ever actually sat on his balls and lost his breath was Nick Nolte when he was in the Streisand movie, The Prince of Tides.
Prince of Tides.
And
Yeah.
she had to stop shooting, directing that is, because he would, in the scene, he was supposed to plop down in her couch. She was playing a psychiatrist.
Mhm.
And Nick would plop down on the couch right on his nuts and like choke and gag and turn green. And she's
Oh
like,
my
what
goodness.
is wrong with you?
So he started the scene talking like this, but he walked out of the office.
So he went and
Wasn't
had the
happy.
famous testy tuck. He had a
Did
testy
he
tuck.
really?
Yes. So
Well-
what they did is they tightened his scrotum so that it would hold his seeds of genovation, so they wouldn't, bounce around in a giant, gunny sack where the thing would slide under his
Gunny
side.
Okay, now Larry David says that they call him Long Ball
Roger,
Larry.
damn it.
Larry David is called Long Ball Larry because he claims he has long balls, and
He
that's
probably
all kind.
does.
And it gets caught in his zipper, and it's a whole thing. He did a whole episode about it.
Okay. Now there's a reason that people get long balls. And most men over the age of 70 begin to get very long balls. And we see this in places
Kinda
like Lido
women's
Beach.
breast, gravity.
Yes.
It just keeps pulling them down.
If you go to Sarasota, Florida, where there's a lot of blue hairs and retirees, there's Lido Beach, and you go out on there and you'll see old men in their 80s wearing nut bags, and they have extremely long balls. But it's normal because the cremasteric muscle holds your balls up, and as you age, it starts to stretch, and so your cods start to swing and smack your knees. Same thing with women's breasts. They start to go, and that's
This
the same thing
conversation started out with us talking about Mark Zuckerberg.
employment and Facebook.
10-minute.
Well, but medical
Explanation of a
discussion is
man's
important. I mean, don't you want to know what it's going to look like if you hang on long enough? It's somehow
One of
relevant.
those clacking ball things into people's offices.
So that's why you get the long. And Larry David is, I don't know how old he is, but 70 plus probably, right?
Yep, like mid-70s now.
Okay, so he's going to have that cremasteric muscle is going to have stretched way out, and so his two testicles will have swollen as well, and his scrotum will have stretched. So it looks like the bottom of a turkey. They have that what is that called? There's a name for it.
I've been
It's
studying
called a
you, Rory.
wattle. Yes. So
You beat
his
me to it.
scrotum looks like a wattle. So if
It's
he
a
sits
waddle.
down,
Yeah, it's a waddle.
his waddle is going to like waddle and go under his leg, or maybe when he takes a leak because he's clearly not paying attention and his balls spill out through the zipper. I'm not sure how exactly that works. Maybe Rory could tell us.
No, I don't want to go there.
Are we going to talk about testimonial? Back in the biblical days, you would hold, the man's testicle like Jacob or whatever,
Talk
and
about
you would
people in the
swear
wrong
an oath.
position.
And you would
What is
swear an
this?
oath.
Why don't I
Yeah.
know about this? This is fat. Is this biblical history?
This is biblical. Like if you look in Genesis, that's the genesis of the word testimonial and testes and all that. You hold on. That's what either it was a Jacob or it was somebody who had his sons hold on. That's what you do. You swear the oath and you hold on to the balls, and that's your oath. That's why we get those words.
Say it! Thou shalt not kill.
Wow.
Yeah, it's in the
Mhm.
Bible. Like if you read it, it's definitely there, and that's where we get the. I guess it would have been from. Geez, I don't know, the Latin or something.
So
And
you
Phineas
don't
looked upon
hold
him
your
and
own
said, "Thy
balls.
scrotum is beautiful."
No, you
Do you,
don't hold your own balls. You hold
you hold
the
somebody
person you're
else?
swearing the oath to. Yeah.
Oh, so if there were an attorney representing, let's say you were the attorney,
Yes.
except you don't have any balls. But if you
No.
did,
So, well, back in the day, the women don't matter. Women
uh,
aren't really human. So,
ah, in today's world, we would
Turn you into a pillar of salt.
grab your, we would just grab your,
yeah, exactly.
okay.
Well, Trump
You're
said,
uncircumcised.
Trump said just grab him by the pussy. So maybe he's talking about swearing oaths. Maybe he's a
That's
You
biblical.
what it
know, it
was.
was just locker room talk. For crying out loud.
Testifying. Wow. Okay. I
Now
mean,
this is
hey,
now hold on a minute because it gets deeper because I'm on Psychology Today, and there's a professor who said in ancient Rome, two men taking an oath of allegiance held each other's testicles, and men held their own testicles. Now this is ancient Rome, not
Yeah,
biblical anymore.
now it makes sense. The
but
As
Romans.
a
today's problem isn't that different.
right
They're
as
doing
a
the double
sign
Dutch rudder. They're telling
I
as
mean,
a
I was there, I
right.
can tell you.
So, as a sign of truthfulness while bearing witness in a public forum. So it's in a public forum. But it does come initially though from the Bible. So I'm assuming that that's where the Romans got it. But that's not even, maybe it was two separate cultures that came up with it at the same time.
I say we bring it back. I think Donald Trump should have to hold the balls of the judge.
Well, the judge has him by the balls lately. God.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
There you go.
Wow. That is arcane and beautiful, Renee. And I
Yeah.
appreciate the education. I'm enlivened by this information.
I can't. Yeah, I was setting you up there because I thought you were going to opine about it. I thought you would have already known.
It's
Yeah,
in
I
the Trump
didn't
Bible.
know.
You can look it up.
it's
I just-
exciting. Yeah,
It
it's very
is
exciting.
exciting. I mean, what a good use of your nuts.
Well,
know?
what I
Swear
love
your
about this
allegiance.
now, what I love about it is
Cuff.
remember that it's the puritanical Western modern world that has this sort of phobia of the body and reproductive organs. That's
Right.
kind of a weird thing. Like
Kind of
in
like Texas.
yeah, that's not the norm. I mean, if you go to Europe, you're just, you go to Europe, you go to the Vatican, you go to anywhere, you see tons of naked people and there's no one freaking out about it. So in the Bible, no one was freaking out about it. So it's just one of those reminders that it seems so weird to us
I'll
now.
tell you what
I
it
don't
is
know why
here.
this popped into my head, but is there such a thing as a nudist church?
Oh, sure.
Probably.
LA.
LA.
LA
LA.
has them. Seriously. LA has every weird fetish normalized so that you don't start to think this is like off somehow. They just normalize it. Whatever you want. I mean, there's fisting parties, there's all these things normalized. Like, right around the corner, it's on an app. Just go and have someone drive their arm up your bum as if your body craves that in
How
some
much
way.
does that cost?
It's free. That's the thing. If it's free, it's fun.
Like Zuckerberg. It's free.
It's free. Yes.
You've got lots
back,
of friends.
back to Zuckerberg. Yeah, that's son of a bitch. So yeah, it's free. And we're just going to corral people into our pen called Facebook.
It's free.
We've got these things called algorithms, and we're going to basically be able to find out what people like because we're going to give them democracy. I said, what do you mean by democracy? This is the end of the Bush-Cheney era. So Facebook's birth converged with that. He said, well, democracy, people love democracy. So we're going to put polls up all the time and people can vote. Well, what's your favorite color? What do you like to eat? He said, but you know what those polls really do? I said, let you know what people like to eat? He said, no. They let us know what these people want and like in life. And then we gear advertising through our algorithms to start to speak to them just about their own desires. And we start to reduce and eliminate things they're never interested in. So all they are is in this giant, I'm paraphrasing here, giant echo chamber, and constantly having their egos fed and their narcissism fed. And then when we put something in front of them, they're going to buy it. And then they're going to hang out with their friends who think like they do. And they're going to have these kind of giant codependent relationships. And they're never going to leave Facebook. And certainly that was the case for a lot of years, wasn't it? Until Facebook became, well, what it is today. Which is, what is it today? Your mother is on Facebook now. That's what Facebook is today. Yes. And I found my friend from 3rd grade. And they live in Ohio. And they were on the Facebook, and we said hello. I'm going to go make dinner. That's Facebook today, isn't it? Unless you're in LA. Genitals.
Or unless you're Abraham in the Bible, and then you want people to swear testimony by holding your testicle. Well, there you go. It's Abraham. That I looked it up.
Abraham. So Abraham was a nut grabber.
Well, no. You swear an oath by holding his.
No, he was the guy that you were grabbing.
So
right, but you swear the oath.
It was Abraham. Come on,
it's his seed. Yeah, his seed
he is the
powerful
grabbee.
Okay, now I get it. So Abraham, as we look, he's the core of the Bible, the Abrahamic religions, Muslims, Christians, Jews, 3 Abrahamic religions. Abraham was a perv. He found a way to legitimize you playing with his nuts, palpating.
No, it just takes a second. It just takes a second. You just put it. You swear the oath.
Testify, honey. You've done depositions. How long does it? Is it a second or is it an hour?
It just. But here, you just swear the oath because his seed, as you know, blesses many nations. And so there's power. There's power in the testicle. There's power in the sperm. That's your seed. That's your progeny. That's your legacy.
And it was me when I was younger, you know.
Is it a dry heave now?
It ain't as powerful as it used to be.
Well, you got to drink more water. That's what I hold on. Julie says, I'm still friends with my kindergarten friend, Lal. He owns his own art gallery and frame store, Lal. I'm so proud of him, Lal, and got best artist again for the 3rd time, Lal. Rory, you're a comic. Is that funny?
It is funny. I'm
laughing out loud all through it.
We're just having fun. We're just having fun, honey.
Come on.
Don't take it seriously.
Julie is a sweetheart.
She's a sweetheart.
She's our friend.
She's now my friend because we're on Facebook.
Correct.
So that means
Zuckerberg was right.
And she says lol. And she says lol. There you go.
She's lolling right now.
Okay, so now that women matter, right? Now that women matter, what if we want to testify and grab your pussy?
Well, the president of the United States totally loves that. So, you know, doesn't get any higher up on the chain than Donald J.
He was trying to get them to funnel him, her to grab him.
Yeah.
All right, come on, you beautiful woman.
Come on, just grab me. Come on, testify.
Grab me and testify. Testify to the testicle.
Wow. This has been such a beautiful learning experience for me.
Yeah, and apparently, and this is the interesting part, even French, Greek, not just the Hebrew Bible, Latin, all of those have their own things about drawing the different.
Dutch?
Yeah, about having a witness and swearing be related to the testicles. So more than one culture came up with this.
Well, this
call
is
it
good.
Dutch rudder for a reason.
This gives them purpose. Do you know my doctor, when I was still in LA a couple of years ago, at Kaiser Permanente, which is as close as we're going to get to European healthcare, Canadian healthcare, British healthcare. It's an HMO in California. They actually own their doctors. They own the hospitals. They own the equipment. They own the labs. So you go in there and it's like a one-stop shop. And I had a really good doctor. He was a young, like 34-year-old Korean. And he said, well, I need you to start to masturbate every day.
Can I get a second opinion?
I said, I didn't ask him that. I just asked him the obvious question, which is, I beg your pardon? And he said, I need you to start to masturbate every day. He's a straight doctor. It's like 34. And I said, I know I heard what you said. I'm sure I understand it. But I don't understand why you, as my physician, wish me to do what I've been forbidden to do my whole life. Parents, school, everywhere, anywhere, the law, whatever. He said, no, it's good for it's a benefit. I said, well, I understand the benefit, but he said, no, a medical benefit. He said, here's the problem. At some point, with every man nowadays, if you hit about 90, you're going to have testicular, or you're going to have prostate cancer. He said it just happens to like everybody.
Prostate.
He said
That's what I was trying to think of earlier.
Yeah. He said your prostate is a
We're sitting on our
gland.
prostate.
It's a gland. He said the gland fills up with ejaculum. And it sits there, and if you don't express the prostate gland, it rots. Think about it. If you had a mucus sac filled with business and it just sat there for weeks and weeks and weeks, it rots. And then that rotting creates white blood cells that go in there and look at it as an infection. And then the DNA blows up and you end up with real problems. He said you need to express the gland on a daily basis once you're over the age of 40. And I said, can I have a prescription? He said, no. We don't do that. I said, but we do tell me to do it. Yes.
Insurance companies don't pay for those toys.
That's right. It ain't going to be in writing.
All right.
But that's the only time I've ever had a medical professional, or really any professional, including a psychiatrist, ever tell me to jerk off. And I thought, this is like very advanced science here. So if you're male and you're listening, please do it for prostatic health. There are other ways to milk your gland too, that you know. This would just be you and you. But if you have you and someone else, they can go in through other entrances and milk your gland that way. I think, did Rory freeze? Is he frozen there?
I thought he was just stunned.
Or is he just still stunned? Look at him. He's so stunned.
He's absolutely, he's an ecstatic lift. He's lifted. He's just absolutely amazed by this.
Look at that. Look at that. Absolutely stunned. It was the going in the other way to milk it.
Yeah, that's okay. Now he left. Yeah.
Now
And it
he's
is
just
called
hell with it.
milking. It is called milking.
It is
And
called milking.
I find it interesting that your physician jumped right to masturbation because, of course, you have a partner. You know, like I feel like he should have said ejaculate every day. I think it's a little presumptuous to say masturbate. Just me personally.
Well, I guess it covers him if he
Yeah.
says masturbate, because there's no pleasure. I mean, there's no erotic. Well, you're not involving a third party, which could
Right.
be a litigious problem, right? Well, I grabbed the homeless guy off the sidewalk, and boned him up just so that I could, there could be a problem, don't you think?
That's absolutely true. So he was he was making sure that he was covering all of his bases there. But the milking of the prostate though, and ejaculation every day is great. And that's true, and I've heard that. But the other thing is milking that gland is you're supposed to be pressing, like you said, going in the back door or the taint is really
Yes.
where you want to be focusing for prostate health. That's for prostate health.
Yeah.
And now
So
here's
the only
Rory's back.
reason that people engage in, anal intercourse, I say that sotto voce, so it doesn't sound like I actually mean it, is purely for medical benefit. purely.
Oh yeah, that's the
The
only
ancient
reason why you would do
Greeks.
is the only
Yeah.
reason you would ever find yourself in that
It's true.
position.
And like straight guys that like their girlfriends to stick their fingers up their rear end do it purely for medical benefit. They get no pleasure from that. Now, I know that there are people going, what? Why would any, seriously, why would any? Because our culture, like you said earlier, Renee, we're this puritanical, violent country. Like we'll blow shit up, we'll machine gun children in the schoolyard, not a problem. CNN, oh, we're just so pearl clutching. This is just so terrible. And now a car commercial. We're just so full of crap. But when it comes to sex, we're like, oh my God. Why? Bend you over the side of the tub. They fuck me up the ass in business. And so we have this idea that somehow it's a violation, that there can't be anything good about it. But as a man, Rory, I was going to
say that's how you express a cat, by putting a finger in its butt.
Yes.
I watched that actually.
Well, that's expressing a cat's gland. That's a different gland. That's the anal gland. Yeah. That's different. But your center of pleasure is your prostate. When a man has an orgasm, his prostate contracts and then evicts or ejaculates the ejaculum. Ejaculates the ejaculum. Say that 10 times fast. Say it backwards. Say it in pig Latin. And so that's kind of how it works. But it's the contraction that causes the orgasmus. And with women, it's different, but it's analogous. So if you lay a woman on her back and you lay a man on his back and you go in about an inch and you go straight up to the top, you're going to hit a man's prostate and you dandle that and watch his eyeballs turn back in his head. You go into a woman, about the same thing, put your fingertip up and go back and forth. You have the Grafenberg ridges, which is the female version of where the prostate would have been were she a man. And if the man were a woman, that prostate would be Grafenberg ridges. But both of them are the source of the orgasmus. So that's why if you were, let's say, bisexual, you would be able to please both parties because you understand that that's there. If you're a hospitulous, knuckle-walking Neanderthal, like maybe a board op at a radio station, you probably wouldn't have this education and simply wouldn't know.
It's Rory's faces for me that I just keep watching. But I want to say that
it sounded like it was a good interview with Zuckerberg. It did.
It was fascinating. I probably have it archived somewhere, and I should do a transcript.
You should. I want to see it. But here's the thing. Why are heterosexual men so squeamish about having a wife or girlfriend touch them in those areas? Are they suddenly going to turn gay? I don't understand that. Like, why is that terrifying for them? They can't engage in the pleasure and the health of it. It's obviously gay. If you were gay, it would be another man. But if you're a woman, then you're not gay. How do we explain this?
I think they don't have a concept that there's pleasure there. They really don't, because nobody ever told them. They're not taught in school. It's not in the locker room talk. It's not anywhere. They're just told it's a violation. You get raped because, in business, bent over the side of my father used to say, bent over the side of the tub. And, it does not sound like fun. Not for me anyway. So it never, ever in a million years occurred to me why a gay man would allow such an act. I thought they must be so giving to sacrifice themselves for that. I used to say, look, if I want to do that, I'll just go with a woman. Like, you don't have to do that for me. Are you serious? No way. That is just ridiculous sacrifice. And they're like, no, seriously. I'm like, no, it's okay. You don't have to do that. And I don't have to do it. I want to do it. No. You don't have to want to do it. It never occurred. Honest to God, I had no idea how the ancient Greeks and why. Again, I thought somebody was doing the ultimate incredible sacrifice of allowing someone to just do that to them, not knowing that people beg for that stuff. But as men, Rory, as a kid or even as an adult, In college, you weren't taught this or told this, were you? You had no idea.
No.
No. And still in your social world, people don't ever mention it as, well, that's, sounds interesting. No, because they're all of the same mindset that it's a kind of rape when it's a man. But you'll find there used to be in the 1990s. Do you remember VHS? It was a kind of tape.
Yes.
And there was a video machine that you would put these things in and it would play video on a television set. Remember
That was
television
my
sets?
high school graduation present was a VHS uploader. Yeah.
Yes. So the number one selling video in the 1990s was called Bend Over Boyfriend. And
Maybe
men,
at your video store.
straight men figured it out. And it was, women with strap-ons or fingers or what. And it was all this demonstration and schooling. And now men get it. I mean, now in this country, they may not talk about it. They may not admit it, but ask most women and it happens.
Right, Renee?
I'm just watching Rory's face because what are you thinking, Rory? As a man, what are you thinking?
Again, I love the fact that you asked that question earlier about why is it a guys or I mean, I could see you like trying to do this for some guy, lucky guy. And it's like, no.
Well, I think that's what it is.
I'm trying to manhandle the man. I'm trying to that's the visual.
Don't touch that.
So
That's the visual.
I think what happens is if women say, I know from my female friends that if they stick their finger in their boyfriend's butts, their boyfriends go crazy in a good way. They just love it because apparently the male orgasm happens on the inside. The penis is just the hose. You pee through it, you whatever through it. It's not the it. I mean, it's a great it, but it ain't the it. The it is behind it inside. And so if I go in there and I give it a little rub, you're going to love this. Shall we try? He's going to say, yeah, let's try because men are pigs.
I think they don't say that. I think in the culture with movies and everything in the West, I think that it's really demonized. And I think guys are very there's a certain type of heterosexual man in the West that's very squeamish to do anything. I mean, back in the day, going back to maybe going back to the 50s, I've had a lot of men tell me that if you masturbated, other boys would say you're gay. There's always this idea that you're gay if you masturbate. They're very afraid. There's something about heterosexual men in this culture where they're terrified of somebody thinking they're gay or them accidentally turning gay. It's really a scary thing for them. They don't want to be seen as gay. If you're a straight man, you don't want someone calling you gay.
How do you get chicks? If somebody thinks you're gay, the hot chick that you want is not going to be interested in you because they're simple creatures. These guys, this particular flavor of men, they're very simple creatures. So they don't have analytical prowess. They don't have deep thinking. They're not able to see around the corner. They don't understand human nature. So they're just going to think if someone thinks they're gay, they're not going to get the hot chick. They're not going to get laid.
Right. I think that's it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do they really care what somebody down the street is doing? No, because they're not interested in it. It's not their thing. But if someone thinks that they're that hot chick that they can't get anyway because they're an incel living in their mom's basement. I love incels. I think our country is unique this way. We get to give the rest of the planet incels.
You're brutally honest, Cary.
What did he just call me? He just called me an incel? What the hell is that?
I mean, the whole notion of involuntary celibacy, which makes it sound kind of elegant, doesn't it? Involuntary celibacy. In other words, you can't get laid.
I had no idea what that was what that meant. That's funny.
Yeah. That's an incel. So all these like crazy gun-toting lunatics that live in their mother's basement with Donald Trump's toadstools growing up around them, they're incels and they're involuntary celibates. In other words, they can't get laid, but they turn into like this psychological syndrome so that we can like feel something for them. And the fact is they're like really deranged. Like seriously, how is anyone not able to get laid?
But that's what I was going to ask. I actually
How
don't
is
even
that
think
possible?
I don't think it is possible. I actually don't think it's
Yeah,
possible.
I don't think it's
Because
possible.
no, because I've met some of the worst humans on the planet that have nothing to offer anyone, and they just go on an app and they've got like 15, encounters.
Yeah.
It's true. They have nothing to offer in any way, shape, or form, but there's someone at any moment apparently looking to hook up. So how are incels even a thing? Do they just have high standards? Like, do they have are the incels, very hard to please? Like, what's going on? They need a perfect 10.
Hard to
They gotta look
please.
good. What's going on here, incel? We gotta meet one.
I think Renee, I think you're onto something here. Incels have impossibly high standards. And so the most beautiful women are not good enough. They are
Yeah.
not going to bother taking down those boxers over that big old hairy belly button all the way down to their knees with their milky white thighs and give her the what
Dimples
for, because she's just not beautiful enough.
I think
She's only an 11 out of a 10.
we have figured out the incel mindset. They're very persnickety. They have very high standards. Nothing is ever good enough for them. That's the
But-
only way you can be an
okay.
incel.
If they dress like Princess Leia in the
Okay.
Jabba the Hutt scene.
There you go. That's the answer.
Okay. So you're onto something. So there is a fetish community for that in LA.
You just put two sticky buns on your ears and you're good.
So here's a question, Renee. So you mentioned these guys that generally have nothing to offer. From a woman's perspective, if you ask them, they have so much to offer. True fact, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah,
They're not self-aware
the
at
best.
all.
They're the greatest.
Yeah.
So they really have nothing to offer, but they can get laid all the time, or at least enough of the time. What is it from a woman's perspective that these guys really think they're that awesome when your eyeballs go, not in a million years, buddy? No way.
I'll tell you what it is. Because men who are, white, if they have just any sort of salary at all, or even not salary, but just like they can buy McDonald's, the whole culture is affirming every day that they are the top of the heap, that they are the leaders. Like when you're a woman, and you were talking about this with Jason Stewart as gay men as well earlier today. When you're not a white heterosexual man in America of a certain status or whatever, you're always being undercut. But if you are a member of that class, you are told all the time your self-worth is being affirmed constantly. You're the smart one. You earn more. You are better. Your ideas are better. And they believe it. They actually it makes a difference. Just as like those research studies where they take two classrooms and they divide them up and they just tell one of them they're gifted and one of them that they're delinquents, and they tell the teachers the same thing, and after a year the performance reflects that untruth. What you tell somebody. So these incels, a lot of them are white, a lot of them, these are heterosexual white boys or men, a lot of them. And I think they buy it. And in fact, I've heard them say that. There was like a documentary on incels, and I remember one of the incels who was being interviewed, he said, what don't I have? I'm white, I'm straight, I'm what this culture is built on, and I can't get laid. I mean, they're entitled. So I think that they just buy the hype. That's the only thing I can think of. And
I got
by the way,
a
John
jacked up
Duncan,
truck, man. I got a double wide. Come on now, girls.
right? But
I
now
got beer every weekend.
now listen to this. John Duncan said, "It's
Yeah,
porn's fault."
right.
Not even kidding. Young guys have unrealistic expectations now.
Well, yes. I don't think it creates an incel though. I can see it, which makes sense with porn because I may have seen it before. I did not inhale. You get to see the best of the best on all you can eat whenever the hell you want it. So unlike real life in the old days where maybe you had a magazine, you had like 3 versions of something. And, after the pages were glued together sufficiently, you got a new one the next month. But all that, to be serious, I know Rory is going, yes, that was exactly my experience too.
So, girls, at the end of having a wonderful sexual escapade, you do want the guys to come all over your face and chin, right? Because that's the standard
in your hair, in your face.
no matter what movie you're watching.
Because who
and in your
doesn't
hair,
respect you that much that now you'll just splatter your face, honey, and now get out. But to the point of porn, if you're looking at your absolute ideal, then it's true. John is right. It's true. You're never going to probably meet that in real life. So you have to figure out, how do I attenuate my fantasy and be okay with a real live person? And if you haven't been with enough real live people, it's probably going to be intimidating. I mean, it's probably going to be not easy, because now you think this is what it's supposed to look like. And this has been the problem with Madison Avenue for decades now, and women especially, that all the magazines, Glamour, Cosmo, and the rest of it show you exactly what a woman looks like. And if you don't look like that, you're not a woman. Done. Period. Finished. And so women kill themselves to try to stretch and Botoxify and tweak and plump and pull and dye their hair and to try to fit into whatever some asshole publisher of a magazine who's got a sponsor, an advertising sponsor, says do this. And so they run that ad, and that matches up with the look and the model and the hairdo because it's brought to you by Breck and this hairspray and that. And it's all bullshit. And then you have tens of millions of women trying to replicate this moment because somebody was a good ad salesperson. They got their commission. So yeah, it does drive people crazy, and it does screw up their perceptions.
Absolutely, because what you're doing, it hurts men too, because like one of the things they're having globally is ED in very young men because of too much masturbation and not actual sex. Because
let's have Rory say what ED is, because somebody might not know.
Erectile dysfunction.
Right. So think of it this way. So John Duncan said he's grateful he was born in 72 and not 2002. Okay, so here's what's going on. What's going on is that if you imagine being 12, 13, 14, and all you're doing is you're looking at these fake porn things, a lot of them are AIs now, and that's what you program your body to respond to. Then you meet an actual girl and you're attracted to her, but she doesn't look or act anything like what you've programmed yourself to. So now you have to start going above and beyond. So that's where they started coming in with more and more kinks, because they're trying to up the ante. I mean, this is all like documented. This is authentic stuff. I'm not just making.
That's
not
not
just like
the Japanese stuff. Oh my God!
Right, because they're up right. And the Japanese now have been bringing into the universities courses on intercourse to teach them how to have intercourse, because they've been having this masturbation and AI sex to the point where they're actually hurting their organ. And they're programming themselves to be turned on by video games, but real women.
So much testosterone, you got to keep some of that stuff back in there,
right? You got to do something different, because you're using so much force to get that orgasm out.
Okay,
you're over. You have to keep upping the ante, but now you're only 18 and you're like an old man. You need Viagra.
It's interesting you say that, and John, we'll get to your excellent point in just a second. You're going to find that a bunch of guys over a certain age require cock rings and all kinds of toys and instruments and stuff just to be able to stay hard, get hard.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
And they up the game. And then you get into all that kinky stuff with the electrodes and the testicles and the alligator clips on your nipples and all of this other stuff in order just to be able to perform, because your body desensitizes over time. Now, let's take a look at those of us born in 1972, like John. I'm grateful I was born in 72, not 2002. So John, born in 72, he would be what the Bible calls circumcised. And I am probably correct in that, John, because you're of that generation. I'm of that generation. So that is the other side of it. Guys are affected by the insidious nature of porn as much as women are. So when you're circumcised, when you're young and circumcised, it doesn't matter. But imagine 4 decades of the glans region of your you-know-what rubbing against your underwear every day. Rub, rub, rub. It's going to get calloused like the bottom of your hand. And so the sensitivity of it is diminished by 70%. Now, if you still have a prepucia, as they say in Espanol, prepucia, prepuce, foreskin, you know that.
It's the stuff that they throw out, that the Jewish doctors throw out.
Looking at his expressions. I love his expressions. So if you have a foreskin, the glans region, the head of your you-know-what, is protected the whole time. So even at 60, 70, 80 years old, it's still a shiny pink mucous membrane. But if you're circumcised and been rubbing against your underwear for 40 years, it loses that sensation. And so a lot of these guys, as they get older, they have to like add all of this stuff just to get the sensation. And it becomes a real problem. And then you have to decide, do you want to be with someone that needs cattle prods and, fireworks and all this other stuff just to have a good time?
Yeah, and that's what's going on. They're
Hey, baby,
desensitized.
get out the cattle
That's
prod.
why you want to date Latinos and Europeans.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm saying this because John is saying that when he watches porn, those guys don't look like me, so it makes him an insecure lover.
Yeah.
We all know here, and I'm not just saying this to be like nice or something. This is actually true. That we know that the sexual organ that has the most power is the brain. That's absolutely true, and that's still true. So women are not looking for something that looks like porn. They're looking for an overall experience. So what kind of a person are you? How do you make her feel about herself? Are you intelligent? Are you witty? She doesn't care about those. Look at porn stars. Not all of them have like these fantastic love lives at home. They actually don't. A lot of them really suffer there. So please don't get into that trap.
Woody Allen,
Woody Allen. Look at how successful he was.
Yes,
He was successful.
He
Listen,
has
you know how hard it is to get a 14-year-old? I mean, only Jeffrey Epstein could have unlimited 14-year-olds. Woody only had one. His stepdaughter, but, maybe that was easy picking.
By the way, we have like 20 people in here watching live and only 2 of them are commenting. Guys, why are we having so many lurkers? Just type something. Don't be
Because
afraid,
you're
guys.
talking about us. Stop it.
Lurkers. Well, I like the fact that John is the brave one who jumped off the high dive and talked about the obvious, because we all deal with it.
And we know he's circumcised now.
And we know he's circumcised because he didn't say no.
Uncircumcised.
He just admitted that he's uncircumcised.
He's circumcised. He's not he's not circumcised. Mate, he's European. He said mate, so he must be British.
No, he's a Tasmanian devil.
Okay, well, he's a Kiwi. I was the only one in the swimming change room who wasn't, and it terrified me. It made me feel like an alien. Okay. So when I was in boarding school in Switzerland, being an American, we showered en masse. So the school was a hotel in 1860 something, and it still had the bathroom in the basement, and we showered en masse with 5 spouts and 1 gang valve. And I would go in there, and I'm circumcised because I'd never seen uncircumcised because I'm American and I grew up in Chicago and there's no such thing. And I'm in there and all of them are uncircumcised. And the only time they ever see the head of their proboscis is when they're excited. Makes sense. It retracts. It pops out.
When Master Oogway pops out.
That's right. But if yours is pre-popped, even though you're not excited, it looks like you're excited. Maybe. And so I was ashamed. And I mean, I looked and I saw they're all wearing turtlenecks and I was wearing a sport coat. And yeah, I'll tell you what, it's plus, John, for your information, you probably already know this intuitively. There are 10,000 nerve endings in your foreskin. When they cut Rory's off, laid him on a table, stretched that thing out, pulled out a carving knife and just sawed at it and cut it off.
Luckily, I don't remember.
I don't remember either. We lost 10,000 nerve endings. Now, you have to have compassion for us. You must feel our pain. And so this is why there's lack of sensitivity. And then you rub that against the underwear. It's like putting sandpaper on it for 40 years. So electrodes and jumper cables and things, that's the American way. No wonder Donald Trump is who he is. No wonder his appetites reflect his experience as a circumcised American male.
Can't they make like a silicone?
I can afford to have a porn star. Not everybody can, but I can, as long as I do the
multiple
right.
Can't they make like a little silicone hat that you could wear throughout the day in your underwear to protect it so that it's not getting chafed?
Why not? I mean, that's an actual.
It's the penis helmet.
That's a really good idea, Renee. I met a guy when I was living in Chicago. This is 15 years ago, probably. And he was going through a foreskin restoration. Now, you can't restore something that's actually gone. But what he did is they're like fish hooks. And you hook one through either side of what's left of what would have been your foreskin. And there's like a spring, kind of like, do you remember, did you ever have braces and wear a night brace? It's like a rubber band around your neck and it pulls your teeth back.
Yeah.
Something like that. It works the same way, but the other way, pulls the foreskin forward. And after 4 or 5 months, you end up with a kind of a foreskin. The problem is it's really thickened scar tissue flesh. So it looks like what do they call those things where they bake a hot dog into a bun? Pig in a blanket?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a pretty sight. And sure, you've got something kind of like, and yes, it would probably have that protective prowess or PP, as they call it in the medical industry. So that would be one way if you don't mind driving fish hooks through your penis. But to me, that's above my pay grade.
I feel like
I'm gonna get those 10,000 nerve endings back.
well, the best we can do is the helmet, the silicone helmet. That's the best we can do. Yeah.
So
I didn't even know this was a thing. It never occurred to me about the underwear. I
Or a
never
tube.
thought of it. I feel horrible.
Okay.
A tube.
So here's John again from Tasmania, pointing out he must admit, he doesn't have to. Yes, he has to admit. He must admit that having a foreskin makes masturbating a much cleaner experience. Have I said too much? Cleaner. How is it cleaner? Because you don't have to use lube and thereby soaking your arm in viscous liquids that are rolling down to your elbow? Or is it just cleaner? We'll wait for the answer.
I would think it'd be the opposite. Well, got to roll it back and clean it now.
We need to have John come on the show. We need to send him the link and have him come on and we interview him about.
He's great. He's
Let me
great.
demonstrate, mate.
So he's an example. He's an example of like what a man who owns his own balls sounds like. He's able to like talk about stuff and
Because
be
he's
brave.
not
Like,
American. Because he's not American. He hasn't
not-
been.
yeah.
He wasn't steeped in shame for 18 years about his body.
yeah, here we spell it BAWDY. We all have a human body, which means we have to cover it up.
We're we're all just waiting on John's penis comment. It's great.
Is he going to answer? How about some of these other people? Somebody
There's so many
answer.
people in here. There's like 20 people in here at
Okay.
all times,
So,
and they're
Of the
not
20
talking.
people in there, how many of you are cut and uncut? Just go ahead and throw it up. Cut, uncut. Just let us know so we can kind of understand. Cleaner because you can ejaculate into the skin and hold it tight. Then you can go to the toilet and tidy it all up and wipe it down. Otherwise, it's all over your stomach. Well, that makes sense. So basically, so you've got a reservoir tip, you've got a receptacle, and then you can just remove it and go and make it go away. That's true. When you're circumcised, you just splatter everything in the way. Kind of unavoidable. Well, it's good to know.
Damn it, I got it on my thigh again.
That's true. And if you have hair on your legs, then they get stuck together. I mean, Rory will remember as a young boy when his mother would do the laundry, looking at his white socks that had yellow spots on them. And she would say to him, "What is this?" And he'd say, "I don't know. But it's just one sock is covered in yellow stains. And I don't know. It could have been the custard we had for dinner and I spilled it on my sock." I wonder if mothers know. Renee, you wouldn't, or I don't know if you've ever had discussions with other, I don't know. But do you think women figure that out, or they just think,
It depends on the culture. I think most women know about it, and it used to be that mothers would discourage that in America. Now there's been more education. Other cultures don't have that hang up. I mean, a lot of people want to have grandchildren, so they're happy that their child is sexually functioning. Like, I don't know why it's a bad thing that the child is sexually functioning if you want grandchildren. So why is that a source of?
But mothers knowing, like when they see the sock. And
I think
know
they don't know. I think they don't. You're right. They don't know. I'm talking more about like a young boy will play with his penis a lot, like just holding it, like, toddlers or 5-year-olds, like they just kind of hold it a lot. And a lot of mothers will discourage that or say, "No, that's so bad. Don't do that." But now there's been more education. You're not supposed to like create that shame around a young child. But you're right. Like, I don't think women have any, like, I would never know what like a yellow I wouldn't even have guessed that it would be yellow.
It's only one sock.
It's only one. And why is it on the sock? Like, I don't even know why it's on the sock.
Because that's what you do. That's what you do when you're a teenager. You use a sock. I don't know why you use a sock. I don't know why you use a sock, but you use a sock. It's just convenient. I guess I know why. Because toilet paper, and John will know, because he'll have his own version of this. Toilet paper sticks and then it starts to peel off in shreds. Whereas a sock, you can really clean things off, and then you just throw it in the clothes hamper. Except that after multiple washings, now there's 2 socks with yellow spots. And then your mother just throws them out and gets you new white socks, never knowing what happened.
Oh, she knew. But
John says, "I remember the first time I ever masturbated. I had no idea what happened. I had to do a walk of shame across the lounge to the toilet with my doona wrapped around me, praying my mom wouldn't see me." Doona. Now this is one we're not sure what a doona is.
Of some kind.
What's a doona?
Exactly.
Oh damn! I think I was getting a. Sorry, TikTok just cut me off.
Blanket. Yeah,
What's
Duna is a blanket.
Oh, okay.
He was playing with his didgeridoo.
Now here's the thing, Patricia Bernard, Patricia Bernard, who's a grandmother. So she's raised, she said, or the son throws out the used sock, and this is why only one sock comes out of the
Yes.
wash.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. She's exactly right. Is that sometimes you have to throw out the sock because it's just too badly damaged. Yeah, it's hideously stained. And that's the problem, is when you're a kid, you get white socks. Kids don't get black socks. You have white socks because you wear them to school, you wear them to the gym. So you ruin so many, and underwear too. You'll
Why are
notice
your black socks crusty?
that underwear will have, if it's a yellow stain, see, there's a pee stain, which is unavoidable as a male. Unavoidable. Women have the same problem. The urethra dribbles now and then. It's just going to happen, whatever. That's why, by the way, we wear underwear so that our pants, our trousers don't get soiled. But there's the obvious uric acid that stains, and then there's an off-colored, oddly yellow, opaque, blobular stain, which is usually off to the side. I'm only telling you what I've read.
Steve McQueen way.
Yeah.
Beware of the blob, it squirts.
Well,
It hurts.
it's just too bad that other people sitting there refuse to tell us anything about themselves.
And they keep coming in. In fact, we should do a banner so that when people are scrolling, they can stop, because we're getting so many people in here. Look at John Duncan said, "This is maybe the most unexpected show I have ever stumbled into."
Really. We were going to talk about people in the wrong jobs. And then Zuckerberg, the subject of Zuckerberg came up, and it went fucking southward from there. Excuse my French.
But this is important.
All of a sudden, it's prostates and, and circumcisions.
But this is what we call water cooler talk. This is what actually people do. They live their whole lives doing this.
But I'm talking
never been able to admit it. They know what's going on, and these are like the obvious things that our parents have discovered, and nobody, they just had to deal with it. But here we are, like, talking about it. So it's
Mom
healthy.
finds a yellow sock. Oh,
We're flushing the toilets of our minds.
But like Renee says, they're happy that their sons are functioning. That they're practicing. That makes sense.
Oh, fine, John. Thank you very much for that. Laughing my ass off, Rory. Cary always going to take things into left field. Fine. Fine.
He didn't say take it in the gutter. He said take it to left field. Okay.
Oh, that's true. And left field
He didn't say you took it in the gutter. He wasn't insulted.
And I don't take it to the right field, which would be a very bad thing. A very, very bad thing. Viktor Orban, Hungary, Poland, bad. Well, I guess we're running to the end of our session here, are we? Almost. Session. I mean, this is really, I think, therapeutic for everyone. Can you tell, Renee, are they male, female that are queued up out there?
I absolutely can't tell. It's the most inscrutable thing I've ever endured. I've never had this many people actively watching a live stream, continuing to come in and refusing to talk. They are just not wanting to talk or identify themselves. It's interesting.
But they're enthralled.
They're enthralled. They don't want to leave. They're not leaving. They will stay here as long as we talk about it. Because I'll tell you why. Because here's the thing about sex and in this culture. We all think we're uniquely flawed. We all carry some strange societal shame about having a functioning body, about a reproductive system. And so all of us watching here, I bet everybody here is staying here because finally they feel validated and they're replaying their whole life and they're realizing, oh, I wasn't a bad kid. Oh, I'm not unworthy of love. Oh, I like to do these things because it's natural and because it's a bonding experience, and I can have kids or I could not have kids, but I could have good relationships, and porn is not what anybody is thinking about as being the paragon of excellence of sexuality. Women don't think that, men don't think that. We need to 80% of it is shot in California. What does that tell you? So It's like 80% of all porn is
Weather.
literally in like one county or something in California.
And
It, it
unfortunately, 30% has Ron Jeremy in it still.
oh no. Oh no, unfortunately.
I remember interviewing him. This would be when I was on Air America. He had written a biography, or something had written a biography about him, but he claimed to be the author. And he came into the studio, and I looked at this hirsute creature, and I was thinking, what woman wants that? I mean, seriously, what woman wants that? And he explained something to me. I didn't say it that way to him, of course. He explained that the reason that he's picked and has become so famous is not that women find him hot, it's that men don't feel intimidated. Sure, he has this monstrous endowment, but most men are much more attractive than he is.
Yeah.
So they're happy to pretend that they are him doing the woman, but they don't feel intimidated, as John was pointing out, where they can never match up to that. Now they're screwed forever. So they picked a guy who just happened to have a giant, monstrous
Schlong.
Now, too big is a problem too. Too big, where you get a sponge on as opposed to a hard on, where if you get an erection, you faint. All the blood leaves your head. I have seen.
Happened to John Holmes many times.
There was this guy in Chicago who is a volleyball player, and a really good one, 6'5", with a baby's arm, basically, for that. And like, what are you supposed to do with that? Seriously, you can massage it, you can rub oil on it. I mean, what are you supposed to do with it? I know that people who have that have ideas of what they're supposed to do with it, but how many people would want to be a recipient of that? And I'm not in the recipient class of those people, though I appreciate people who are recipients of that, by the way. But is there such a thing as too big? Renee?
Well, 50 Cent bought, was it, I'm forgetting whose mansion he bought. He bought like this huge mansion, Curtis Jackson. And he had to sell it because he said he would come out of his bedroom, look down this long hall and say, I don't want to go down that hall. I don't want to go to, I mean, this is creepy. All he wanted to do was just stay in the bedroom, right? So he sold this mansion, but he bought it initially thinking it would be so cool to own this mansion. Then you own the mansion and you realize it's kind of creepy and you can't do anything with it. So if you fall in love with someone and they have a giant appendage, you will make it work. But there's a chance that someone might date someone just for sort of like that factor of like saying it, but no one actually wants to use it. And that's why, like Curtis Jackson, at some point you're going to sell the mansion. That's not, it's a carnival attraction to you, or it's some kind of a trophy to you. You could call your girlfriends, oh, wow, look at this. But like after half an hour, you're like, I can't use it. I don't want to go down that long hallway. I don't want to go down there.
It's like having a baby every time.
It hurts.
Yeah. I mean, once you see it squirt once, that's good.
Painful.
We're done.
Ouch.
John Duncan says, you interviewed him. Wow, that was my first experience of porn. He was overweight and hairy, but he had a certain asset. That's exactly it. So when you looked at him, you just saw overweight and hairy, and you sort of focused on what he was doing. And the woman, and I was always close-ups of her face, her eyes rolling up, groaning, moaning, just pure adulation and joy at his touch. Whereas in real life, his touch, most women would not be laying down and saying, oh yeah, ooh, hot. It's like Harvey Weinstein or Donald Trump, absolutely bare naked, except wearing sock garters and maybe some wingtip shoes and double nipple piercings, standing at the end of your bed with his toadstool. As a woman, are you going to go, come on in? Or are you going to go, oh my
ready.
God, call the cops?
I know you're ready. You're waiting for it. You will love it, don't you?
That's the entitlement. That's the entitlement Renee was talking about. That's exactly what it is. It's like, here I am. Like, I don't understand. Why aren't you like, worshiping this?
Yeah, because
Yep.
they've been told look, I'll tell you the same thing. Let me be honest, and I'll talk about my own demographic, okay? There are a lot of heterosexual white women in America that if they see a black woman or a Latina woman taking a very sexy man, they will be racist and they will say, "But I'm the blonde-haired, I'm the paragon of," and they get very catty about that. African American women really do suffer, yeah, about that. How could they choose her? Her skin is darker than mine, and it's all of this bucking for power and being, it's whatever you're told. And there are certain demographics that are told from birth, or if it's like being born into the royal family, oh, I'm
No,
amazing.
inbred.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what it is. And then you get very hateful. You get very
Your
hateful.
toadstool is quite
Think of
attractive.
it this way. The toadstool. Think of it this way. It was like what LBJ said, where he said back in the 60s about the civil rights movement. He said, there are some white men where literally the only thing they're proud of is that they're a white man. Now you're taking that away from them. So that's one of the things. It's like you see that now happening with a lot of white men who they see doors opening and some sense of equity beginning, and that really unsettles them because that might have been the only thing they had going for them was, well, I'm the white guy. I'm the paragon of excellence. And it's like, well, actually, no, you're not. You actually have to have some merit. You have to try. You have to put some work in. And a lot of people are not used to that. And the same thing for dating. A lot of wealthy men are horrible to date. Yes, he did say it's toadstool.
my
Yes, he
God.
did.
All right, doing a little Billie Eilish move there.
It was
Flipping around.
mesmerizing.
Well, I mean, this so astute, Renee. Really, I love the fact you get a chance to go deep and be perspicacious here and really bring in a valuable female perspective, because otherwise it's just white men and our perspective once again, for better, for worse. So these are good corrective measures.
It's good that you're here to keep us tethered.
No, it's good. Well, it's good. She's smart. I mean,
Yes, she's incredibly
she
intelligent.
could also play the girl game and giggle and say, "Oh, you guys are right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right." But she's not. This is why she's a fucking goddess.
I appreciate you. You guys are amazing. Thank you. I adore you both. I want to buy you both ice cream and pet your
Okay.
hair, and
This
I'll
is
give you
good.
both
Keep
back
going.
massages because you're both so nice. You're so
She's
nice.
discovering her female role again.
Yes. See, now I'm getting
Cooking.
nurturing.
Wait,
I'm
we haven't done
nurturing
the
and
cooking
nourishing.
and cleaning yet, but we're on the way.
I'll do your
And
laundry, and I
It's
won't
very
ask
good.
about I won't ask about the stains. I'll do your laundry.
Yeah, don't worry about the socks.
I won't. I
Comes
won't.
out with the bleach. Comes out with the bleach.
And I will affirm your highest point on the totem pole. John
there it
said,
is.
"Stop it there. Stop it there." I will. I'll stop. I'll stop there. That's. I won't ask them if they want the backdoor prostate. I almost said proboscis.
Well,
I almost said
using your
probate.
Massage my
Your-
proboscis.
plasticine proboscis,
Oh,
with a
probate
strap on.
proboscis.
So you
Oh,
I
gotta
mean, think about what a woman gets by strapping it on.
Yeah, I
The
don't
way-
understand that. I never could understand that in a million years. I don't know where that started, and I can't imagine it's secure. When wouldn't it just be so unsteady and so flexible? There's no anchor really. So I don't know. It doesn't seem, it seems like it would just, I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I
My
can't figure that
sense-
out.
My sense is
I'm
that
confused
When it
by the
does
mechanism.
strap on,
my sense is that for the woman, It's power. She can dominate the
Yeah,
guy. She
yeah.
can take him, and he has the experience that she has only known before, which is being the receptive partner, with him being the dominant force. And for
Right.
him to supplicate, to yield, to receive, and be absolutely powerless.
Yeah,
And
see, I
she
could see
being,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. So it's totally different from being a dominatrix. It's
Mhm.
just power shifting. And maybe for some relationships that helps balance it. So it's just not him saying, let's do this, let's do that. She's actually like owning her
Mhm.
ovaries.
Yeah, she's owning her ovaries, exactly. And I think it's really important to keep stressing that a person's sexuality and how they express that with another individual it's almost like that proverb about a man never steps into the same river twice because the river has changed and he has changed, right? So
All
every
these
there's
biblical
no
quotes are scaring me.
we don't want to demonize any of these things because kink really isn't a thing. Kink is just a word that people come up with to describe what they're not interested in. But the reality is, like, okay, so for example, you know how some people have a foot fetish, and I'm reading this
It's
book
just
about it.
another word for nothing left to do.
You're,
Sorry, that just popped into my.
let me explain. This is fascinating. So
Yeah,
foot fetish is like a thing,
yeah.
and some people say, oh, that's a kink or whatever. But a lot of biologists have theorized that actually we evolved to have certain quote unquote kinks because it helps. Like back in the day, a man having a foot fetish could give his wife a bit of a break from all of the pregnancies to space the pregnancies. So that would be enough for him. He wouldn't be pressuring her for intercourse all the time. He likes her feet. So some of these kinks
This is
actually
theoretical. This is like theoretical. Like, this, let's explain it.
it
That
right, because it could be, but my point is that it could have value. It could have value. And to so it's not kink doesn't mean that someone is mentally ill. Like there's a lot of people who would say, "Oh, if you're into kinky stuff, back in the day if you were LGBTQ, there's something wrong with you." Because the person who came up with that rule doesn't get it. Their sexuality functions differently. But one is not kinkier than the other. There's no standard, in other words. There's just
I
no
think there
standard.
is.
No, I don't
I
think
have
there's
to
a
part
standard
company.
though. But I don't think there's a standard even within your life or my life.
Japanese super kink.
I'll tell you, I think there are.
But to someone who's kink, that's might be what they are evolving into,
They are
or they
evolving
leave
into
it.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I
They
was at Folsom in Berlin over the summer, and there were people in complete rubber outfits in 90-degree sun, wearing dog helmets or these dog masks. And, I'm thinking, one, you're just sweating like a pig. You're ripe. You can smell them down the street. Now, I get it. Like, I'm politically correct, using politically correct filters. I'm not allowed to think about it, judge it, or imagine it as being
yes.
disgusting. But
Yeah.
I say I'm allowed to actually have discernment. I know
Yes.
the difference between catsup and ketchup. I know the difference between an apple and a persimmon. I know the difference between a bathed person and a bacteria-ridden, sweaty, stinky swine, which for whom there is a fetish community that enjoys
Mhm.
fungated genitalia.
Right.
But there's a reason that most of us do not dive into fungated genitalia. That's because our instincts, our evolution over time has told us there could be a problem. You could get sick. Yes, this is why we instinctively, when on the sidewalk, we see sometimes homeless people who may have certain deformities or maladies. We walk in a wide path around. And it's because instinctively we're told something is really wrong. And if I get too close, I could become infected. It's just instinct.
Yeah, but see, think about monogamy, which now in the West they call it serial monogamy, but it used to not be serial monogamy. That was never a thing. It was monogamy. Then think about polygamy. Think about where somebody might be raised and what's normal to them. Their sexuality accommodates those cultures. And so I've seen people say, like, if you're in America right now, And like I have a neighbor who's from Iran. He's a doctor from Iran, and he has 3 wives. There's somebody in America
Everyone
who's going
does.
to, well, somebody's in this, right. But,
As
and
a
he's
Mormon would.
Make good money.
right. But to them, that's their lifestyle. That's what they
Okay,
grew up with.
I'm gonna jump in. I don't disagree. That is their natural life, but all of these come from an originating moment. So with the Mormons having polygamy, multiple wives, it's because Joseph Smith was kicked out of a whorehouse in New York as a drunkard and ended up moving west and establishing Utah, slaughtering all the Indians, letting them know that they would go to their afterlife with their gods, even though it disappeared half of them, and created a polygamy culture so that he could have unlimited all-you-could-eat women. He
Right.
replicated a whorehouse. So these things come from usually one person's appetites, and they normalize it. Whatever the king likes, it becomes the custom of all. You take King Charles of Spain, who had a lisp, and then you end up with Castilian Spanish, where we have our S's. And that's because people would mimic the king, because it's just as in English, England, it's called RP, or received pronunciation. Many people, as they were educated, were taught to replicate the sound of the queen so that they spoke the queen's English or the king's English, and that would get rid of their regional dialects. And so suddenly everyone is talking like the queen. What if the queen actually speaks shit English? What if that actually is the worst kind of English ever, but it becomes the normal, as did the Castilian Spanish, as does Joseph Smith and the Mormons with polygamy? Most men who are seed spreaders, I mean, think about it. Genetically, we are there to fructify an egg, not one, as many eggs as we can fructify. But during the 1300s in Europe, during the Black Death, the church, in its early trying to figure out if was this God's wrath or what, discovered that men who did not visit the brothels were not taking home the plague. And so they started to close the brothels. And then they invented this idea of monogamy that had never existed before. That one man, one woman, sacred oath forever and ever, amen. And then it becomes enshrined in religion, and we just think this is the normal way. But there was always a reason for behavior. So we could normalize pups, or whatever it's called, rubber suits and sweaty, stinky bodies, and just normalize it to the point where you feel like an oddball if you don't stink. I mean, I've met a lot of people that would want to get together with whoever and, don't shower. I like it ripe. Now, most people have instincts that tell them if someone is really, really foul and covered in body odor, something's wrong. Something's wrong in their decision, in their personal hygiene, in their relationship with other living creatures. Something's off. Otherwise, we would all be only having sex and procreating in our stinkiest ways. But we're not. We actually like to cleanse. As John would say, yep, cults start like that. Jim Jones, Manson, etc. Infidelity is the common denominator almost always. I'm not sure if that actually buttons up the point or if it's just a companion point, but it is a point. And the point is pointed. And the point pointed at you is a hard point. And that hard point wants to enter your slats. So to use lube, should it be silicone or should it be water-based? That's the question.
What do you got against lift, Cary? What's the matter with lift? Why are you diffing me?
I love that point that you made, though, Cary, about how it originates somewhere, like the Joseph Smith stuff, which I find fascinating, by the way. And we've even had some of the ex-cult members who escaped, at various shows.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. I find it, and then, Warren Jeffs is in prison right now. And it's interesting to see how many thousands are continuing to take orders from him from prison and to continue his business escapades and his, anyways, but that's a fact. That's true. There's like this origin point,
Well,
and I
yeah.
love being able to think about that.
And think of how exciting it is for people who are lonely, that feel disconnected, that feel apart from rather than a part of, to be members of a community. We call them here in the United States football fans. A lot of them are baseball fans, where they don't have like a real tight community of any particular sort. So they join a larger community of millions, and then you can advertise to them, reinforce that they're doing something good and amazing and that they're awesome people with great taste, but they're part of something. And to join any kind of behavior so that you can be part of something, as long as it's not too wildly offensive to you. And as a straight man, what could be more exciting than all the women you can eat? All you can eat. How many sister wives do you want? 10, 15? And they're all going to go to heaven. So not only are you helping them, but you are helping them in their afterlife. And you get to bone them all, and they get to watch even better, you know, and you get to pick your favorite one. Wow, this is awesome. And they'll cook and clean and do your laundry. Like, what's not to love if you're a white man? Yeah, right? And, you know, I think in the gay community and the this community and that community, which have untraditional relationships, for the basic reason that there are no founding fathers. Why? Because they were all slaughtered. So there is no history. There is no template. How do you date? How do you not date? There really isn't any real history. So it's just a live petri dish evolving. But straight people have thousands of years, including religions, organizing and structuring and making things okay. And the Mormons have the best deal of all. It is the pure capitalism religion. It makes regular Christianity blush. The Mormons own the Marriott Corporation. They own airlines. They own radio stations, broadcasting, newspapers. They own so much infrastructure in this country, including just everything, real estate, all of it. But they have really good family values. In other words, they take care of community because that's the core. That community starts to fall apart and the whole game unwinds. So it's all about community. Where can you find a community if you don't have one? And if it's putting on a rubber suit and you can deal with that and take some spanking across the bottom, and for some people that feels good, I can tell you, I do not like pain. I do not like it. It is not erotic. If you strike me, pinch me, hurt me, it is over before it even began. If I want pain and agony, I'll go to work. You know, but in my private life, it's supposed to be romantic and sensual. Now, here I am, a fucking milquetoast, white bread. You know, how crazy I am that I don't understand that being beaten and punched and plucked and pulled and yanked isn't erotic and hot. That having my ass whipped is not somehow going to give me a better erection. Well, it's not. But I want to know what your history is where you need that. Because I know a guy who cannot get an erection without wearing a gas mask. And that's because he was put in as a kid. This is in the 1960s, I think. People were building bomb shelters all over the country because of the Cold War. So he had to spend a lot of time in the bomb shelter. His father put him down there, rehearsal, whatever, had him put on the gas mask. And somehow, I guess he eroticized the gas mask. So here we are years later, as a full-on grown-up, the gas mask gets him hard. So a lot of these costumes and things that are going on, there's always an origin story. And we like to ignore that because it's inconvenient and it makes us look like we're judging. We're not judging. We just want to know more, because this stuff doesn't just come out of nowhere, out of a vacuum. You know, if there's a hot girl and she goes, I like you, come make love to me, you don't say, well, hold on, let me, you know, put on a rubber thing.
Put on my rubber tights.
Get cattle prods and stuff. Because you laying there as a supermodel naked, you even brought the lube and hors d'oeuvres. I need to have a bullwhip. Something happened, because it should be sufficient.
Cattle prod.
Cattle prod. Yeah.
Well, a lot of it too is, you know, like if you read Linda Lovelace's memoir or various women who were sex workers trafficked against their will, a lot of these women spent years being trafficked and really having to deal with clients who were, they could not be satisfied with any other licit sort of experience. And what she writes is that almost every client that she had was like what you're talking about. There would be some isolated, unique, unexpected circumstance that had to be, or else they could not get an erection. So, like her boyfriend, who was her pimp, he could not get an erection unless he was beating his victim as he was trying to have intercourse. He literally just could not. So every time she was with him, she just had to be beat. She was trafficked. Well, I don't know that guy's story, but there's a story there, right? There's some reason why he's like that. But
Yeah, look at
client
the
after
Marquis de
client.
Sade, the famous Marquis de Sade, who was a nobleman during France, before the Revolution, and he had fashioned champagne goblets in the shape of Marie Antoinette's breast. She used to visit him in the Bastille. He wrote horrible, horrible books. If you can Google them, you can't find them. They're basically banned in the United States. Justine, and there's another one, I forget what it's called. It is the most objectionable, atrocious stuff you will ever read. A nun jumps out of a third-story window, pulls up her habit, and she's naked underneath, lands in horse shit up to her belly button, gets out. A monk comes over, performs cunnilingus, vomits back into her. She then goes, and it just goes on and on. This is the Marquis de Sade, French nobleman, a lovely man, as Donald Trump would say, a very nice man, very nice. Many of them are very
We
nice.
used to hang out, it was a great guy, a lot of fun. We used to go to Epstein's Island, young girls.
And John Duncan, our Kiwi friend from Tasmania, he has those books. Who knows exactly what I'm talking about? So what was the Marquis de Sade's story? From whose name, Marquis de Sade, we get the word sadism.
Yeah.
Sadism. So that's the origin of that word, from a real person. So anyway, I love this conversation. It is almost midnight. We've been cooking this pot roast for a little bit. So let's let it simmer for a while and rot, and we'll come back and we'll pick at the,
like a guy who's been in a rubber outfit for 3 days.
Thank you. Yes, we'll pick this up again. I want to thank you, Rory Penland. I want to thank you, the great goddess Guppy Renee.
Thank
And I
you.
want to thank all the rest of you out there anonymously refusing to participate with comments. But thank you for watching. Lurkers, our favorite lurkers. And we want to thank our Kiwi friend who is showing what manhood looks like by showing up and being transparent and brave. So we thank you, John. Cary Harrison with you. This is the Cary Harrison Files. We do this typically Monday nights around 10 p.m. Eastern time. That would be New York, Miami time. And hopefully we'll get to do it next week at this time. And I just want to thank everyone and say, oh, what fun it is to ride.